Checkers combination is the fastest and the most effective way of winning checkers game. But is every checker combination good? Of course not. And a great example for that we will find in today's analysis. Thank you very much for the warm welcome to this format, and I can promise you that more and more videos of that kind will be published on this channel, and now we are preparing to publish not one, but 2 videos a week on checkersTV YouTube channel. So please subscribe not to miss it at all. Before we start the analysis, I will tell you something about history. So this World Championship match was played in the Netherlands in 1973, and 2 players playing there were Andreiko, legendary Latvian player, that time of course representing USSR, and he was already 3-time world champion in 68, 69 and 71. He was that time 31 years of age, and suddenly in 1976 he died tragically. He was murdered at age of 33. His opponent in this match was Dutch player Ton Sijbrands, according to many one of the best or even the best player in the history, despite of the fact he gained only 2 World Championship titles, and the first one was in 1972. So at this moment of the match, Ton Sijbrands was defending the title. Ton Sijbrands is born in 1949, so his first world title was won at the age of 23, and during this match he was 24. Ton Sijbrands is well known because of his simultaneous blindfold games and the records that he chased together with Erno Prosman. And after this short historical intro, we can start to analyze the game. That was the second round of the match. The first one was played in a draw, and in that game Andreiko was playing white pieces and Ton Sijbrands, of course, black pieces. The game was started by playing 32-28, opening of Rafael, the most common opening of the game, because that way you of course want to develop your left wing and the weakest checker on the board, that I mentioned many times. Ton Sijbrands answers with 18-22, and in my country it's called a Dutch game. If you have any other name for this opening for this game, just let me know in the comments. And about openings of the game, this is probably the most difficult area to write a book about, to study in international checkers, because you have so many different possibilities and so many options are still being discovered, invented by players, and not many people decided to write a book about openings. One of them was Grandmaster Agafonov from the Soviet Union in 70s or 80s, and the second one, after a long time, was Aleksander Getmański. This is the book from 2014, if I remember well. So, the game goes on, development of the left wing and development of the right wing, looking from black side. After a few moves, we get this move, 34-29, and this is of course a standard move to play. The same opening would happen if white started with this move and then after refusing color 17-22 tried to play 32-28, and some similar moves would bring us to the same position. And Ton Sijbrands decides to exchange it 2 for 2. These days I think that even capturing that direction is chosen more often than this standard variant that was played many times in the history. And there are a few moves that can be played by black pieces. For example, one of them is 13-19. I always remember that Grandmaster Edward Buzyński was always telling me to make this move, just not to allow your opponent to make this move, 35-30, because after that there is of course a simple combination 1 for 2. But, of course, other possibilities are there to play, and this is the move chosen by Ton Sijbrands. These days, this is kinda theoretical line, and I don't see it many times played in the games at the tournaments. So that way, Ton allowed Andreiko to develop 35, and after attacking it to 25, it's forced to go to 24, and that way, white occupies this outpost 24. This is the checker that crossed the half of the board, and somehow it can be attacked by threatening of capturing it on the next move. But there is no need to be afraid of that kind of attacks, because you can just simply wait and you can use this exchange 2 for 2 to save your checker, and that way you would even get better position, because now black pieces have this one standing on 25 on the edge, and this one 22 that might be not so comfortable. And the last game I published with an analysis of my game was just about playing this kind of positions. You can see it in the top right. Going back to the game. Of course, the better move to play is this one, 14 to 20, not to be too passive, and white pieces are trying to take control over the center. But once there is an activity from the white pieces side, by taking this square, you just can't let your opponent to freeze you out of the space to control, of the space to make moves. So this is necessary that after this move, 32, 28, many times, this move is just the only one move to play, just to take control over the other part of the board that your opponent doesn't control yet. And just to accept a sharp game, white pieces play to 26, of course not letting black pieces to go, for example, here, because otherwise, for example, after something like that, it would be possible to go to 26, and take a look how many problems you would have here with this hanging piece. And of course you can't develop this one, because black pieces would take 1 to a king. So this is something you can't afford in the game, of course. This is necessary, and here is something nice that you must know. After immediately going to 27, there are some nice traps, because white, for example, could try to lock this outpost 27 by playing here symmetrically to what black did to 31. And there is a nice move of playing 18-23, giving your opponent 2 options of capturing, and the first one is to take here to 19, and this one is losing. This is something that you must know, because this idea can appear in many different games. After that, black pieces give other 2 pieces, take 2, white takes 2, white takes, and another 2 taken by black pieces. And that would give 1 piece advantage to black pieces. So this is of course not possible. If you want to start your checkers adventure and learn how to play and win at checkers, then in the first link in the description you will find my complete beginner's guide to winning strategies. And the second capture is here, 1 for 2, and there is a very nice move that appears 2 times in this opening, and even maybe more that I don't know. 33-28. And look at the possibilities right now, because if you would like to take backward, then white wait, black take, and after sacrificing another one, you go to a king. There is a lot of different combinations here, so the only possibility of capturing now is this 20-29, and white take this way. So black have 1 checker more, but this cooperation of 27-29 of course will not allow them to save at least 1 and maybe even 2 pieces. And of course it can be used for a combination, simple combination, 1 for 2, once black pieces will just cover this gap. But better idea would be, I think, to just attack this piece, and maybe after trying to attack this outpost and winning it, because looking at the attackers and defenders, white pieces have 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers that have the possibility of going with an attack to 32. Meanwhile, black pieces have only 1, 2, 3 defenders that can go to 16. So it means that it is not possible, probably, to save this piece. And after winning this piece, white pieces can try to attack this one, standing after the half of the board that probably could be attacked as well. So this is the idea definitely you must remember in this opening, and this is not the only time that you will see it. So after 11-16 that was played in that game, white just want to avoid this move. 18 to 23, because for example after 45, 40, this exchange 2 for 2 using the majority, because you can't capture that way, of course, you must take the most pieces, which is 2 in this position, 2 for 2. After another exchange of this outpost, you can see that this one is kinda lonely in this attack, and black pieces have the possibility of building this structure, this column on the double line, and to thread with some simple combinations 1 for 2, and that way they can isolate this checker. That position would be better for black. So to avoid it, it kinda forces white pieces to play here, 37, 32, and after this move you have, playing black, simple way of developing this checker 16 from the edge to the center by playing this exchange. And this exchange is always, not always, but most of the time is good, because you exchange this central checker for this edge checker. So you get some improvement, because centralizing your pieces and controlling central squares is extremely important in international checkers. And after that move, we've had in the game this move, 44, 40. But very interesting one is to play 45, 40. And this is the theoretically prepared move. You can see it in some books. And nice combination possibilities appear here. The same idea, 1823, is possible for black pieces. And let's take a look at the first variant. After capturing here, 28 to 19, black pieces have two possibilities, 27, 32, 27, 31. One is better and one is immediately losing. And you should calculate it well, which one is better in that position. The losing one is to play here, 27, 32. Why? Because after collecting two pieces, black take 3, and you can see that on the next move, black pieces will be forced to capture two pieces. And that gives you an opportunity of using the sticky move, which is this one. You stick to opponent's checker, using the fact that your opponent must take the majority, and you go to a king. And that way, white pieces, despite of losing on combination, actually are winning the game. So the better possibility would be, of course, to play here 27 to 31, that way avoiding the majority possibilities, and perhaps in the future this checker would be possible to capture, to take, to attack for the black pieces, so black pieces have an advantage here. The second possibility is, of course, to capture other direction, 29 to 18. Black pieces would take 2, and the same move that we've seen before in that game. This, 33, 28. And there are many different possibilities. For example, after going back, you have just simple combination here, going to the king, using the gaps in your opponent's position. Second one, of course, is not working as well because of that continuation. So only move to be played right now is here, 20 to 29, and you can see the similar position to what we have seen before. The same situation, but now even 5 attackers can go from 37 to 32 and try to attack this checker, and perhaps in future even to attack this one. So I think, despite the fact that black checkers have a bit more aggressive and developed in the central part of the board position, it is a bit more flexible for white, and I would prefer to play it with white. So this is the idea that you must remember definitely, but of course black checkers are not forced to decide to play this move. And there is another nice possibility of combination, for example, not after this move, but after 9-14. There is one more thing to mention, because once your opponent goes to 27, it is not possible for you to exchange this outpost. This outpost 27, of course, to play against it, you should control 47 and 49, two important base pieces in your position, because this is the way to build those two structures, those two columns that end on 38. That way you have the possibility, of course not the necessity, but the possibility of exchanging it at some moment of the game. And you should have it, because otherwise this piece could be just too strong to play against it. And in this position, exchanging 38, 32 would be fatal for you. After taking, white would take, and there is a motive of winning a piece, 17-21. And two different possibilities of capturing right now. The first one, 26-17, and that way black would take that direction, 12-21, sacrificing two pieces. The third one, and now collecting 3. And this 118, of course, will be captured on the next move. And that way, you would lose one checker playing white and making this exchange. The second option is to play here, 28-17. After that, you have similar variation, sacrificing second piece, taking 3, but now losses will be even greater, because how to save those two checkers. But once you will wait one move, for example, 45-40, and your opponent will play 9-40, you can see that this column is not working anymore. And it means that you can exchange 38-32. And this could lead us to a very, very beautiful combination that many times I tried to use to show people how beautiful checkers or drafts can be. How it goes? That way, for example. And here is the combination. Beautiful combination that led black pieces to get to a king here, to 50. At first glance, it looks like impossible, but it is possible. This is a very difficult combination and also not clear after making it, what you will be able to see just in few minutes, in few seconds actually, because I am showing you this combination. Perhaps many of you know it already. We sacrifice the first one and the second one and the third one. And here we have the possibility of capturing. Of course, after this one and sacrificing 3, black would take 4 and would have one checker more. This one would be really difficult to attack, to take. So it's not an option, and white should take this direction. Black take 4. White goes to the king. There is a waiting move because you already know your opponent's next move. You sacrifice another one, and 3 more to finally collect 3 opponent checkers and opponent's king to get to a king by yourself. 3 checkers more, and this is a very interesting and tough endgame to play because of those 3 white checkers more. With a perfect play, it would probably lead to a draw, but I would not risk it in the game. I would not. This is just the combination I wanted to show you as an interesting thing in this opening, and this is something that shows the beauty of the game. So, going back to what happened in the game between world champions, 44-40, and after that Sijbrands puts 5 into a game, because of course developing this checker from the left bottom corner is necessity. It's the weakest one, but of course at the Grandmaster's level you try not to miss any tempo, and they are trying to do at least the best moves at the moment, and just waiting moves with such 5 at some moments of the game would not be a good idea. Andreiko plays to 34, 10-14, 43-38, and here we have the key moment of the game. Sijbrands decides to attack, 14-19. And of course attacking pieces in drafts, in checkers, is a very important thing that should be checked by you many times, because that way you give your opponent an information that your next move will be that move. Now Andreiko knows that next move of his opponent is to capture here, to 30, and that gives him a time to prepare a combination that he decides to use. So at this moment, the meaning of calculations grow insanely, because the way the result, who will calculate it better, will result the game. Finally, Andreiko decides to, like I mentioned, play this combination. 41-37. Now he puts opponent's checker between his checkers on 38. Another step of this combination is to make a gap on 12 to open this possibility of capturing to a king. And the last job in this combination is to place opponent checker here on 29. And this is done by this move. Sijbrands takes, Andreiko waits, Sijbrands takes, and Andreiko goes to a king. This is the diagram that you could see on the thumbnail of this video. And this is the position that already has a decided result, because from the position here, when Sijbrands attacked 14 to 19, it was Sijbrands who calculated it better. And Andreiko should not have decided to play this combination. Why? Because of possibility of capturing it. So now there are 2 checkers more for black pieces, but white have a king, of course. And if Sijbrands managed to catch this king, for example sacrificing 2 checkers and taking this king, then he would have 1 checker more. And this is what happens after move 9-14. This is probably the move that Andreiko missed in his calculations, because maybe he did see this move, 20-24, and after escaping from this possibility of capturing this king, going to 34, it could be captured, of course, by, for example, playing those moves, and here the position would be equal. Both players would have the same number of pieces. But this move is kinda hidden, this 9-14. This 9-14 move. And the loop possibility of capturing king is here. This is something that Latvian player, for sure, missed. There is no point in running away with the king, because that way this king would be captured anyway by sacrificing 2 and having this king. And Andreiko just wants at this moment to develop his position that will be kind of passive and to try to have some advantage in the central part, what you will see just in seconds. So now Sijbrands decides to collect his opponent's king, and this is another time very important thing, because you won't have your position developed in checkers, and you can destroy opponent's king on 2 different ways, 8-12 and 2-7. So if you have such possibility, it's better to use the checker that stands in the first line and not in the second. That way also Sijbrands secures 1 tempo, because to achieve this position after sacrificing 8-12, he would be forced to make additional move. And now he has more developed position. So the question now is if Andreiko has any compensation on the board, and it's hard to say. Of course he goes to 32 and finally he puts Sijbrands 3 pieces on the edge. Second edge is also controlled by Sijbrands. But looking at how the game developed, I think that Andreiko just lost any hope to save this game, and Sijbrands slowly exchanges, preparing for the endgame. And this is the moment where you must be really careful about some structures, some columns in the central part of the board, because sometimes you would lose the game even while allowing your opponent making something like that. And I'm showing you that because of this piece, 47, how important it can be, even in those such a classical games, because it helps you to prevent your opponent from getting to a king. So even having 1 checker less, it was very important for Andreiko to keep this 47. But of course it's too simple for Sijbrands to let it happen, and after some next moves finally the advantage grows, and in that position this column, you can see that only 7 black pieces are on the board, and still Sijbrands can make a nice column to use this cooperation of those 2 checkers, 27, 28, and to avoid this threat 18-22, Andreiko is forced to sacrifice a checker, and few moves later, finally, after breaking to a king, pushing it back, he decides to surrender, to give up. Ton Sijbrands wins this game. And finally, Ton Sijbrands wins his 2nd World Champion title in 1973. After many draws and only 2 victories in this match in Netherlands, Ton Sijbrands defends his title. Let me know in the comment section if you liked this analysis, if you like to see more of that kind videos, And I can tell you, for those who are watching till the end, that I'm planning to record some videos of that kind with guests, good guests, like grandmasters, for example. So subscribe the channel not to miss it, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.